reasonably comfortable? Yes. Okay, we say hello.
Reasonably is a good description.
Good description. Well, there's another seat if you want to participate. So the idea behind this program was actually inspired by the oral historian Paul Ortiz, and he said, you know, we were speaking with him about the process of oral history and kind of the significance of it as a tool for preserving the record of lived experiences. And he said, you know, it's really nice to invite the people you've interviewed to come in and hear both how your stories have been interpreted and understood, and also to give you all an opportunity to look at some of the artifacts that we've brought out from the library. Maybe it might stir other memories or thoughts, and to have this as a real conversation about Cedar Crest history. So why don't we do something a little, I guess, we'll say maybe unusual.
Don't look at me, this is your
the first time. So why don't we actually start off, we'll just go around the room and everyone can introduce themselves. You can say, you know, are you a current student? Are you an alum and class year? So just a brief introduction. Current students, you can share your class year and your major with us, and that way we'll kind of get a sense of who's with us in the room. And then from there, I'll ask our groups of students maybe to introduce our alums, and then I'll facilitate a conversation. And it can be free-flowing. Don't worry about if something occurs to you and you want to jump in, or you remember something, or you're curious, you don't need to wait your turn or anything. But I'll start off, and then we'll go around, we'll go clockwise. So as I said before, I'm Dr. Lauren Braun-Stromfels. I've been here at the college for 3 years. Before that, I was a professor of history in New Jersey at a community college. And since arriving at Cedar Crest, one of the things that I've been working towards is really getting a functioning archive and transforming the former Alumnae Museum into something that would resemble more of an academic archive, and working with Morgan in Alumni Affairs to achieve that, and particularly working with my colleague here in the library, who will introduce himself in a few moments. But it's so great to have students involved in this project, and I look forward to what we'll talk about today. All right.
My name is Katrina. I'm a senior. I'm a double major in history and political science. Fun fact, I added history as a junior because I love Dr. B's classes so much. And yeah, hopefully I'm graduating in May.
Fingers crossed. You're close. You're close. You're making it.
Hi everyone, my name's Sophia. I am finishing up my junior year and I am majoring in history.
Hi, my name is Susan Seckham Cox. I graduated in 1973. I talked to you? Yes. I was looking. And I was a history and political science major. I worked at the college for 45 years and retired from here, I think, 7 or 8 years ago.
Yeah.
I am Macy Yanuzi-Claff, graduated in '80, was an education and psychology major. I'm a retired teacher. However, I did, right after graduation, spend 3 years in the residence hall. I was the assistant dean of students. And it's an exciting project you're having.
So, hi everyone, I'm Morgan Kerber. I'm the director of Alumnae/I Affairs. Been here for almost 2 years. I've had the pleasure of meeting, I think, everybody in this room to help coordinate all of your interviews, as well as bring some items from the museum for you all to look at. So it's nice to be here for your presentation and hear all the good work you've done.
I'm Elizabeth. I'm a senior history major. I didn't end up interviewing anyone from our list, but I interviewed my aunt. So, yeah.
What class was she from?
2003.
2003, okay. So, yeah, Elizabeth has a legacy family, right? Your mother and your aunt?
My mom was a SAGE student, so she came back that way,
Okay.
and my little sister just started attending this year. Last semester.
Hi, my name is Katie. I'm a sophomore and my major is nursing. I'm Casey. I'm a current junior and a history major.
And you're also
I also work in the archive.
Yes.
So if you want to find something, Casey's your person.
Well, Lauren has hyped me up, but it would not be possible without Casey. She's done a lot of great work.
And Sophia, who.
And Sophia was her predecessor. Yeah, we'll get to Sophia in a minute.
Hi, I'm Camila. I'm a freshman and I'm a criminal justice major.
Oh, is that my turn? I know they were going. I'm Becky Kyle. I'm not an alumni. I'm the director of Student Accessibility Services here, and I've been here for just over a year. But I was just excited to come and see what everyone was talking about today.
My name is Taylor Bixby. I am a Falcon Navigator. I work right upstairs, so I just kind of came by to just listen.
Yeah, welcome.
I'm Sophia. I graduated last year. I was a history major with art history and theater minors. And I also worked in the archive as a student and a little bit post-grad.
We'll talk.
Okay.
I work in the museum, with the museum.
Okay. My name is Graham. I'm a forensic science major. I'm graduating also hopefully in May. And I took this for fun and inspired by Sophia. I heard good things about the history department.
Lisa Johnson, I'm a Falcon Navigator. I also work right upstairs, so it seemed like a really good opportunity to come and hear more about the campus. I've been here about 3 years.
I'm Lindsay Powers. I'm the Director of Persistent Support Resources. I've been here for 5 years, and I'm just here to support our students.
Awesome.
And I'm Nick Galante. I'm Information Literacy and Technical Services Librarian, and I'm also kind of inherited the archives when I took this position 2 years ago. Yeah, and been working a lot with Lauren since she started on this.
Yeah, we're really closely together. So, none of us would be here, right, if it wasn't for the networks that we built here at the college and that we're continuing to build over time. This is a meaningful place for all of us in this room, and so I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to come here. So I thought we would start, and we'll go through kind of with our students who did conduct interviews, and we'll start there and maybe talk about from your perspective, what was it like talking across generations of Cedar Crest history? What were some of the things that stood out to you? Maybe if there was an anecdote or something that surprised you, we'll start there, and then we can kind of go from that. And then I'll invite our narrators to share the same thing. What was it like for you as well? So we'll start with the students, and then we'll turn to the narrators.
Sure, yeah. So I had the pleasure of speaking with Sue, and we talked about feminism on campus and kind of activism, stuff like that. And it was actually really a lot of fun getting to know more about the campus and during her time here. And the thing that surprised me the most was definitely all the guest speakers that came on campus and all of the people, the public figures that came on campus. Is really impressive list, and definitely wish I could have been there to see it all happen. But it was really interesting.
Yeah, I know that. I know we were just whispering about the photograph of Jane Fonda here on campus in
Where did you find that?
1973.
I could not find that.
Casey found it actually.
Where is it? I was looking through all the photos of all the guest speakers that have ever come here, and she wasn't one of them. So.
It should be in the 1973 yearbook.
Okay, well, I did bring that, so we have that.
We can start to circulate some of that. Now, Sue, were you going to add something about Jane Fonda's visit?
Well, I was president of the Politics Club, so I got to host her.
Oh, wow.
Cool.
What was that like?
Interesting. She came with Tom Hayden.
Okay.
And it was, there were lots of protesters here against her and Tom Hayden. And they felt that she had gone against the soldiers who had been in Vietnam. She wouldn't eat the food we served, and we were still eating out of the basement of Curtis, and we had to get grapes, but they couldn't have come from Mexico or whatever. There were all these rules and regulations, but she had a former roommate from prep school come to see her. She had friends show up to come to see her. She was very accommodating to the students. And so it was a very interesting day, and she gave us a lot of time.
Yeah. Now, were the protesters, so one thing that might be surprising to some of us in the room, it would be to think that the protesters, it sounded like, they weren't anti-war, they were actually anti-war. They were protesting the presence of an anti-war activist on campus? Is that
They were protesting,
objecting.
yes, objecting to her being on
Mhm.
campus.
Mhm.
And we had to have the state police here because there was warnings that there were gonna be, and so they monitored the entrances of the campus. And so, yes. But we got to meet, I think I called you back and said, I forgot to tell you, if I can talk about my years after a student. We also had Betty Friedan and Gloria Steinem. I said, those were feminists.
Who was from 60 Minutes, the woman?
Jane Pauley?
No.
She was here too.
Jeez Louise. So
Yeah.
Who do we have to talk to get this?
Yeah, Bill Buckley
Where's
was
Bill Buckley
here.
was here. I remember him playing the harpsichord.
So all
So-
of those folders in the archive.
There was a voice in the room that said, wow, right? But thinking about the caliber of public figures that visited campus, and we discovered the records of a speaker program that ran for about 15
what was the
years.
name of that? The something, I want to say Reimer?
The Reimer
Reimer
lecture.
lectures,
Robert
yes.
lecture, yes. That's where a lot of
Which-
these came from.
Yeah, all of those people you mentioned
Bill
were part of the Reimer
Buckley and-
lectures.
Jimmy Carter's son was here.
Yes.
Yeah.
We found
Rosalind Carter was here,
Right before the election?
right before the election.
Okay, so
Because I again got to be with her and present her with a cookbook that the Alumni Association did. And she had submitted a recipe to it. All I kept thinking was, the polls are not looking good for you.
And it was not, it was a landslide. In fact, that election,
For
Ray
Ronald
Carter
Reagan.
was
Yeah.
defeated.
Yeah.
And Reagan gave his inaugural address and he said, it's a new morning in America.
Yes.
And we can talk more about that later. But what a moment, right? You're thinking, oh no. So, Katrina, do you want to share something from your interview process?
So I interviewed Kim Raken. I'm probably butchering her last name.
No, you're correct.
Okay. She's from the class of 2003.
Okay.
There's
So
a-
with Elizabeth's
yeah.
as well, yeah.
There's a lot of similarities of like my own experience here. Her freshman class was urged to like go and try something new their first year, and that's kind of how she fell into becoming like the class president.
Oh, wow.
And I kind of see like those similarities of like staff and faculty pushing students to like be their best versions, even if they're like hesitant. I've had my own experiences with that. Lindsay's always been there for me since like freshman year. She's kind of pushed me to do like mentoring and the inclusion advocate position at the Allen House. And even Dr. Carpino telling me to go apply to programs even though I was really hesitant. There's also some like speakers coming on campus during that year. They had an honorary degree for Billie Jean King, the tennis player, which was protested by the Westboro Baptist Church, which is not really fun when they show up. But the campus really like gathered around each other to support each other through that, and I don't know, you just kind of see this like theme of like community and
Theme of community.
Yeah.
Sophia, you were nodding to you have a memory of this protest.
That was one of the first things that I found in the archives when I was working there, because one of the things that I wanted to focus on, because I wanted to create an exhibit that I never got around to, obviously.
The way the archives were when you got in there, that's not surprising.
I wanted to look into like queer history at Cedar Crest, and that being like one of the like first things that I really came across when I was trying to organize down there was really.
And I was going to say, Billie Jean King was on campus several times because Dr. Blaney, who was the president, was on the Women's Sports Foundation with her, as well as Cindy Blockshock, who was an '84 grad. And those of us on staff were so excited about her coming and getting to meet her. And the students would say to us, Yeah, that's what everybody says, but who the heck is she?
I actually was going to ask if anybody who has a strong association might want to clarify for the record, right? Who is Billie Jean King and why was she a meaningful person?
Well, what year did she play tennis against Bobby Riggs?
That must have been
That was-
73 or 74
Yeah,
or something.
yeah.
So the
What
battle
about
of the
before
sexes, right? Well, I
Yes.
think initially he had said it himself, or someone else had said, that women can never beat men in
Yeah,
tennis,
right.
and she said, "Oh, really?"
Yeah.
And she beat it.
Soundly.
Yeah, so it was kind of a meaningful moment. And she was honored with this. She received an honorary
Right.
degree.
And she brought Julie Faggy, who is another Olympian who came to campus to work with soccer students, I believe, yeah. And on another visit, as I said, she was here a lot.
So let's why don't we invite Sue? Is there any? I don't know if you want to take a peek at that scrapbook and see if anything occurs to you. We'll come back. If I know Kim is not present, so as a talk back, where? Let me see. I'm trying to think of Graham and Casey interviewed you. All right, so Graham and Casey, whichever we would like to start with something surprising, some themes, an anecdote. You can take it where you wish. What it was like to interview and spend time with an alum.
I think we had a very nice conversation. Everyone in the class here knows I'm very big on the traditions here and like the student experience and the activities. So I was so surprised to learn that a lot of the things that are like integral to us now, like bingo, and everyone knows Frolic's my baby, that like those are just not the same caliber as other events that like, I don't know, I know Fall Family Weekend or the Parents Weekend is a big deal, but it's also just like, I don't know, not nearly the same level. And it was nice. I've seen lots of things about the song contest, both like in yearbooks before. We saw you brought one of the trophies at one point, but to like hear about it firsthand, and then I was able to get from Nick the record to put in our project as so I listened
The record
to
of the song contest. Yeah.
the record of Nancy's specific winning senior year song
Yes.
and the record it was, you had mentioned that there was a circus themed one, but that was the circus themed one, and our frolic this year is circus themed. And so I was very
white gloves, just put
I like the picture of it. It was really cool, and I think it took me about like halfway through the interview to realize that we'd actually met before at Alumni Weekend. Didn't put it together because I met so many people. But yeah, that's what stuck out to me.
Yeah, I think like also the way the community, there's have been changes, but it's still like still its core, and that even though we have different traditions, they're still loved, and it was a good vibe.
Yeah. Something to see how you as present students connect to the past and to the traditions. I know it's meaningful for both of you. I'll just say that Graham came into the class as a non-history major, but someone who was very excited about the traditions. And in fact, I think later we'll bring out the box of goodies. Morgan brought some items, physical items from Cedar Crest Pass, and there were a few things in there that really sparked your interest. The ring, the class ring, right?
Yes, that was really exciting. I don't know, you've gotten pictures of everything along the way, because I kept taking pictures of everything, and I like my camera roll is just full of like pictures of the newspapers and the yearbook and the everything we got to see, just because, I don't know, it's all evidence of existence to me.
Yeah. So let's see. So Elizabeth, do you want to tell us a little bit about your interview and an anecdote, what it was like speaking across the generations?
Yeah, so when my aunt attended, she was a math and education major, and she always has this story of like one time I was on campus with her, and she goes, "One day you're gonna go here." I was so adamant. I was like, "No, I'm not. No, I'm not." And I ended up. So she always holds it over my head, and she started with that.
Okay.
What was shocking to me, well, she's a first generation college graduate to an immigrant parent from Mexico. I was really surprised on like his support, like her dad's support, my grandfather, of her, and like she was a commuter, so, and she didn't drive, so she's kind of forced to be on campus, and she said she kind of like embraced that rather than like grumbling about it. And something I learned about him is he keeps a copy of every like degree in the family. I never knew that. And also just kind of her career experience from being in Cedar Crest. She got her first job in the Allentown School District as a permanent sub, and then she actually taught in Mexico for about 2-3 years. So like that was really interesting to learn about, because like she kind of added in my life and just learning about what she was doing.
Yeah. So it filled in some of these gaps in your own family's history and told you more about the meaning of the education here. I'm curious for anybody in the room. Is your relationship with Cedar Crest shaped by, or how, I guess I should say, is it shaped by your family's experiences? Thinking about Elizabeth's story and the sort of tension initially in the family about coming here, but then your discovery, right, about the meaning of this place. Does anybody have any particular relationships? Yeah, with the college.
I actually have a pretty similar experience. Both my mom and my dad went here in the 90s, so they were like, yeah, I think you're gonna end up going there as well. And I was like, no, like, I don't think so. Like, I want to go and travel somewhere else because I grew up around here. And lo and behold, I ended up here, and I'm very happy about it.
And do you mind my saying, I think you transferred here, right?
I did,
so
yeah.
you started off at a different university, and then
I went to LTRIC.
Okay, so you transitioned.
Yeah.
So you had the experience of being on a different campus and had that comparison.
Yes.
See, you can't fight, you shouldn't fight.
It's a very good community here.
Does anybody else want to speak about how you ended up here at Cedar Crest? Is there any stories there around that decision? I see some eyeballs over there, like Graham maybe has a story.
I mean, I don't think it's so crazy. I know I'm in a very different field than the rest of you, I guess, but the feedback accreditation for forensics is hard to find, and it's really, really important when you're looking for a career where standards are so important. So I had gone to New Haven, and they were all of our open houses, and they were like, you must go to an accredited school. And I'm from New Jersey, I'm from Hopewell. It's near Princeton, it's where the Lindbergh baby was kidnapped. It's our only claim to fame. And so looking up and finding a school that was it was an hour and a half instead of 3 hours away, and coming here and meeting Dr. Carino, and I was like, yes, this is the right place for me, because it feels like Stars Hollow from Gilmore Girls, and that's kind of my dream. So I've gotten overly invested ever since.
One of the things that we found.
Forgotten to laugh at your Lindbergh baby.
This is the audience for it.
No one ever knows about the Lindbergh baby.
The right people know about the Lindbergh baby.
So one of the things that we discovered when in our class was we dug deeper into the history of the building that we're in right here, which of course was renamed the Narrows recently. Before that, Hartzell Hall, and then before that, the Hillside House. And in the era of the Hillside House, right, we found the photographs that document the program in domestic sciences, and particularly of great curiosity to us were the babies that were raised within this house by students who rotated through 24-hour shifts for periods of time and had different delineated roles in caring for the baby and also in hosting different events like teas and meals and the tea room. So we saw a lot of those records, and that was really fascinating to us to think about this women's college. Go ahead.
Back then, I mean, what was the percentage of people who majored in home ec? That was,
and we got rid of it, like 63 or something like that.
So, do you know anything about the decision to get rid of the program?
Yes, I think people were starting to think more along feminist lines, and this was not a major for women, and now people would love to be. Maybe you don't call it home economics or whatever.
Well, like in high schools, they need family and consumer science, so
Yes,
right, the
that's what I
dietary
heard.
program, you know, might be a good thing to.
I don't know whether this made your paper or not, but I talked to her about having one of the babies show up in my office. And
As an adult.
and say to me that this is the only picture I have in my family. I was an orphan for my entire life. And it was 4 women, one of whom I recognized right away because it was Carol Pullum's mother.
Yes, one of our
We have that
faculty
story,
members
yes.
in English.
Yes.
Mhm.
So I talked to Carol and I talked to her mother, and her mother said, I know who the others are. It's our 50th reunion this year. We'll invite him to join us. And so he arrived and brought roses for his mother's practice called it, yes. And they had a great visit.
Did they get the children through Good Shepherd? Because Good
No,
Shepherd
a lot
used to
of
be, they had adoption agencies.
Right, a lot of them came from Wilmersdorf.
Can you say just one, for the record, what that was, that organization?
It was an orphanage,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it was church related. I don't know whether it was, probably wasn't UCC, it was probably Reformed because UCC hadn't happened yet.
Mm-hmm.
And we eventually did become a UCC church.
That's the United Church of Christ?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're defining all the terms for the record,
Okay,
for the
sorry.
future researcher. So one thing that it was really fascinating to us in looking at the history of the college over many decades and looking at books. I have the customs book here.
Is it A1?
This is 1979, 1980. Actually, yes. Would you like to see that? Yes. Some things might still remember.
So I have one in the archives that's in better condition. That one's a little roughed up.
No, I recognize it from being on our bulletin board.
Okay. So one of the things that we noticed, right, as a class, who's that? Exactly. Class president. We saw, in particular, this ongoing struggle with the college to identify as a liberal arts institution for women and to really preserve and promote the higher education, that experience, and then the kind of the desire to promote and attract students for more vocational style of programs. And so that, remember the 1920s newspaper article that we saw? Does anybody want to, Camilla, do you remember that one? Or do you remember any of the other things that we've looked at? Like, if you want to talk about curriculum or clubs or anything?
I really, what stuck out to me the most was like how the other classes welcomed the freshman class. It was like very interesting because like it's very different from what the upperclassmen do for the freshmen now, which is back then that you guys used to haze them and you guys had rules for them.
Never was allowed anything.
For the record, just
deny.
Well, I don't know when that tradition stopped. That set of rules that I shared with you guys, we think was from the 30s.
Yeah.
Obviously, none of that is happening now.
And so some of the rules, do you remember they were?
One was like wearing like this like a sales cap, like a sailboat cap I think, and wearing it the whole day, or like the sophomores would tell the freshmen what to do, and they had to do it before like the end of the day or something. I don't know. It's like really weird. It's really very weird. I'm like, oh, if that would have happened now, like that's really illegal.
I mean, I don't know about other departments, we still do that in the performing arts. So,
one great question actually about the existence of these kinds of rituals, which were particular, and specific, right? What function did they serve for you as as students who participated in these kinds of rituals?
When you say it like that, it sounds like it was a terrible.
So your memory is much different.
Because it brought people together, like I was telling the girl, that in like song contests, these things brought people together immediately. Back then, there were, now you may have 350 people living on campus. Back then, everyone lived on campus unless they lived within 30. Yeah, they were a commuter. They could only commute if you lived maybe from Jim Thorpe on down. So there were, 900 people living on campus, and so it was just a way to bring everybody together and have fun. Nobody got hurt.
No, I mean, I will say all the rules were embarrassing but harmless. That's how I described them. It was
There were a lot of rules around
very
dress.
particular ways to dress,
right,
to interact with upperclassmen.
Yeah, there's more my error.
Oh,
We're
was
the
it?
absolute
Okay.
error. I mean, we had to wear signs and dinks for the first month of school, I believe. And they were good because they got your name out in the public. And you got to know other people's names because you had your full name and where you were from. And you had to wear these silly little dinks. And if you got caught without a dink by an upperclassman, you got sent back to your room, which could mean you were late for class.
Oh, okay.
Freshmen were the last ones allowed in to eat in the dining room, which was in the basement of Curtis. So that too was horrifying because of the fact there never were any tables left for you and your friends. You had to sit with these unknown people, but it got you to meet other people. Song contest was required when I was a student. It too was wonderful because you got to know everybody.
And we didn't even think to not take part. I mean, I was telling you that in song contest, my sister also went here, and so did my cousin. My sister's class of '82, they broke the risers. There were so many people on there that everybody took. And I don't think anybody, unless you couldn't for some strange reason, or felt like you were working or you had to go home for some reasons, there was not a person who did not take part in that because you were a family. And I think a lot of it, it got me thinking about the feminism, and you were mostly protesting about the war. I think we all just became strong women because that's who we were and who our professors were. I think about Nellie. Mangus was the dean of students, and Marion Carey, you'll hear these names, biology professor. The standards that they set. And the fact that we, like I said, oh, look at me, as president of student government, there was only women here. And so we were in charge of everything.
Right, and you saw women in leadership roles.
Exactly. So it was not something that you thought about, you just did it.
I'm curious of the different kinds of leadership roles in the room. What different positions, either elected or volunteer, you all have played or do play on campus?
Someone call out Casey.
Casey, yeah.
I think you just did, Nicole.
I'm treasurer of the History and Political Science Club and also treasurer of the Active Minds Club. And I work at the library. I work at both the front desk some days and then the archives other days.
And what's huge that you promoted coming this fall to library ambassador to be
It's a
one of
leadership
the
position.
senior leader positions.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Sophia, what were some of the things you were involved in? Yeah, in your careers.
I was business manager of Alpha Psi Omega, which is the Theater Honor Society. I was vice president of the History and Political Science Club, as well as president and vice president of Burlesque Club. I also directed a few shows for Sister Stage on campus. I was also a student leader. I was a library ambassador working at the archive. And I can't remember what else I did. I was kind of all over the place.
You pioneered the archives position.
I did.
You said, I want to work in the archives. And I said, are you crazy?
I got down on my hands and knees and I begged.
That is true.
At that point, it was not really a very accessible space.
that
There were
point, it
items
looked
in
like
it.
a
Accessible in the sense that
tornado.
you could not walk into that
Yes.
room because there was so much stuff.
It needed some love.
It did, and Sophia showed it a lot of
You
love.
showed it love.
My best.
From what I've seen, yes, you
So one
did a good job.
One thing that that really seemed to come out of your recollections of these rules, that first year students had to follow was how it encouraged, you were saying, Sue, to meet people and to, as a point of conversation, maybe somebody would say where you were from and they would have something to say, or when you had to sit at the table with the strangers, conversations would ensue from there. So it sounds like very quickly it helps you integrate into the community.
I think it did.
I think we started in 2020, so we had like the opposite experience that no one could get involved at all. So it was 2 people to a table in Canova. Even like the big tables, you had to sit.
These were all COVID protocols.
And I mean, as a response, we did quite well. I think the most cases we had at a time was 14. So like that is a very impressively low COVID number, but like we didn't really know that many people because classes were cut down, so it'd be like half the class in person and everyone else online, or I think we had to split in thirds for my chem and bio classes. So it's very exciting to me, especially getting to know some of the freshmen through working in admissions, then seeing them all like jump in to get involved, because it definitely took a couple of years to rebound, but now I get really excited seeing the freshmen are jumping into everything.
You did it. I mean, you.
That's true. I am everywhere all the time.
No, but I mean, you stayed here and you didn't just.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, this is terrible. I'm not here.
Yeah. No, I really liked. Like, I found people and I learned, but I didn't really get like my group and my place. I didn't feel my place entirely until like end of sophomore year. But then like from there, I just haven't really loved it all.
And Sophia, I know as well, you graduated from high school, you were in the COVID senior class, and then started college also in that uncertain environment.
Started, because we started the same year, I started as a hater. I was living at home, I lived in Slavington, so it wasn't that bad, but I was living at home, I didn't drive, and most of my classes were online, so I spent every single hour of every single day in my room or going to work. And by the end of that year, I was like, oh, I don't like this. I don't want to stay here. But then I convinced my mom to let me move on campus sophomore year. And that is when everything actually started for me. And that's that got me to like school again.
Were there particular things that helped you meet people or to feel more connected to campus?
Theater, actually. I auditioned for a show in freshman year, and that's the only thing that I came to campus for. And then sophomore year when I moved here, I just kind of bumped into a bunch of people that I had met during that process, and then they were like, come hang out with us, come do these things with us, let's all hang out in my room, and we'll all just kind of sit and yap at each other. And and I don't talk to many of those people anymore, but they all led me to the people that I have stuck with now.
Yeah. And Katrina, I know you're also a senior this year, so where did you find the transition to college life was rocky as well, or changed by COVID?
Well, it wasn't really fun coming in as a freshman because it was the end of COVID, but we're all
and
still
that was
wearing
fall
masks.
of 2021?
Yeah, we're all still wearing masks. We're all still not as interested in
socializing.
Yeah, so it was a little isolating and hard at times. And I came in as a STEM major and quickly found out I did not want to do that.
That's fair.
I kind of hopped from criminal justice to poli-sci, and ended up really liking my poli-sci classes, and I don't know, junior year comes, I'm still interested in current events, I get into more history classes, I add your major, but it kind of took some time to get comfortable here and engage with the campus and the community, but there's always some faculty or staff member who is willing to root you on and kind of push you into things to get you involved.
That was a similar thing that you described as well.
Yeah, it's just, it's the staff, the faculty, meeting people in your dorms, through your majors. It just, you feel like you belong, you're part of your family.
So I know I'm inviting also the students who have who don't have a narrator here or who have been working mostly in the archive. So Kirill, is there anything you wanted to add that you found that was interesting or surprising in the research that you've done about the college?
Well, I don't have a navigator since I never met with Tracy.
Okay.
But with the archives, it's interesting to see how different all of them are from each other.
Mm-hmm.
Like some of them are very like either tradition of the school or like people getting married. I've seen a lot.
Yeah,
of
I will say all the students were amazed at how many wedding announcements they found. Which was typical, yeah.
I asked a friend of mine from class of 72 about the feminism questions, and I was like, I couldn't think of examples. And she said, well, in our song contest that year, we said, unlike most others here, we're not here for our MRS. We're here for our BS.
Mm-hmm. Not here just to get married, right?
Yeah.
But here to actually
Yeah.
educate oneself. Yeah.
something that I also find that we had a lot of like either concerts or like community events that I'm really interested in.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a commuter, so I don't know that many concerts and stuff that we have here, but I was like, oh, it was interesting since I felt like before we had them more often than we do now.
Mm-hmm.
Things like that. I felt like
Yeah.
it changed how with the years it was a different type of entertainment
Yeah,
that we have
that's.
now.
Mm-hmm. Were there any like highlights in terms of entertainers or events? I mean, we've talked about the song contest. We've talked about some of the special guests on campus. Anything that I'll open up to anyone, right?
No, my roommate used to play guitar in the coffee house, which is now where what's down there, your closet.
Career closet.
Career closet's down there. I mean, they also, back, that 70s, up through the 70s and maybe 80s, not that it was a prom, but winter weekend, and there were events where students could have a date and go to, I think they usually were at the Holiday Inn, but it was, a reason to get dressed up and do something. Dad-daughter in April was another reason, very big event, and got another reason to dress up. And, so that was the era of
these fancy
fancy dresses. Although I think prom is still popular in high schools.
We had a great band at reunion one year called
Okay.
Party Girls.
Uh-huh.
That people begged us to bring them back year after year.
That was for the 150th, wasn't it?
Yes.
No, that would have been what year?
17.
2017.
Right?
Seems like that was long ago.
2007?
2007.
2007.
2007? No.
100 years was 1967.
Well, you're making us do math.
2007, 2017.
Yeah, I didn't do this. That was fun.
Yeah.
See, we like a good time. At the bingo, we were out.
And it was such a good time that the president's husband kept saying, turn down the music to the band, and they would lighten it, and Cindy Boshock would go up to him, she was trustees, and jack it back up. Finally, the president and her husband left.
That solved
We
it.
had a nice wild night.
It was like Go-Go Gadget, we were from Mayfair.
Yeah.
Are there any other highlights, events from current students, or even?
This one we used to have performers at Strawberry Fest.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I was a student here between 2012 to 2016, we used to have like live performers at Strawberry Fest, which is one of the traditions here, and it was always interesting because it was always like a male band. So the girls would like swoon over them and things like that. But then I don't know what happened, but they stopped having like a performer at Strawberry Fest. But Strawberry Fest did grow to be super huge on this campus, so that's probably why.
So I think now would be a great time. Should we take out some of the items?
Sure, let me go back up to my office to get them.
Okay, all right.
So we'll be right back. So I'm gonna go bring some cool stuff over.
Okay. Now, everyone who's looking in the scrapbooks, anything standing out, jumping out at you there? This is a yearbook also from 1973. So we'll pass that.
If I can find the date of
They probably do this for men staying after hours.
No.
2011 was the last one.
Also, to throw Nick under the bus,
Go
because
for
you
it.
asked about the question about how your family impacted your time.
Oh, fine, yeah.
Nick, what did your mom do?
Yeah, I'm a legacy, technically. My mom's class of 85.
I was gonna technically.
Janet? Janet Galante?
Yeah,
Oh, good God.
of course. I'm used to this. This has been my entire life.
What was her reputation? Or
No, I don't mean that way, just I know.
She was.
She's one because she was
yeah,
married
well,
to a lot of reunions.
Yeah.
So.
Well, Bethel, do you live in Bethel? Did you go to
No,
Bethel?
Coopersburg. I grew up in Coopersburg.
Well, Coopersburg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Do you remember us playing with the Discovery toys? I think I was at her house. I saw Discovery toys.
Yeah, so I was just out of grad school. I was looking for something to supplement the nothing that I was making as an adjunct. And she said, well, Crestman Library's hiring for part-time people. And I knew the director at the time, actually, two ways, because my mom worked for her when she was a student, Mary Beth Free. When my mom was a student, it was like one of Mary Beth's first years as a reference librarian. And Mary Beth also happens to be the great aunt of a woman that I grew up with. So I knew
And who would that be?
Katie Farris was her name, Mary Beth's niece. But we grew up together. I'd known Mary Beth through my friend, and I said, yeah, what the heck, I'll go for it. And here I am.
And one thing as well, the project with the archives and kind of merging to some degree the museum collection with the archive, but also re-envisioning that collection and really trying to pull out the stuff that we wanted to preserve for the college's history has really blossomed, under your time here.
It's
in the
really
library.
fascinating to dig into the history and to see how they tried to organize it because it was not organized. But yeah, it's been, and this class has been a really great motivation for doing that and figuring out exactly what we have, because a lot of students all through the semester come to me and say, hey, I'm looking for X, can we find this? And my response has usually been, maybe, let's see.
Yeah.
Most of the time I feel like I've been able to get you guys what you were looking for.
Some of the themes that came up frequently, right, in the class were what role did feminism play in shaping, college life and curriculum, and that's particularly why I was curious about, like, when and how did home economics, go away as a program? Gender and women's studies.
Yeah,
I know
it was
also
not a
is coming
major in the 70s when I was.
No, mid-60s it's gone.
Okay. So that's one thing that I know students have been very interested in. Obviously, traditions and events, on campus. We've also been quite interested in the curriculum itself and its evolution over time. I mentioned really seeing, I think, from all the things that the students found, we noticed just this, again, this ongoing tension between different ideas of what Cedar Crest should be as a women's institution, and I think that speaks a lot to women's evolving roles, right, in the country. That seems like something.
And so liberal arts is near and dear to my heart. However, I get that it's very important to come out with workable. You want a job. Your parents paid a lot of money, or you paid a lot of money to get a degree, and you want to be gainfully employed when you leave. There's no major philosophy anymore.
Okay.
What are you gonna do?
A lot of things, but yes, it's you
But
know,
it's
in
not
the room.
right out the gate.
Yeah.
You do have to figure that
We
out.
really only had, when I was a student, only education, cooperative nursing.
Poli-sci, though, I think about Marty was.
Yeah.
But you're thinking
Dr.
about the
Lupo.
ones
No,
that
led
were
to
more
careers.
professional.
careers.
It was pure liberal arts.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Good luck.
English majors,
Mhm.
sociology.
The irony of home economics, we discovered, right, and we worked with a journalist who's written about the field and its origins, was the way in which the work, you know, women's work generally, housekeeping, child rearing, meal preparation, even entertaining and hosting, was actually taken seriously. And the work, right, was cooperatively divided, which is not the case, right, for most mothers and women today playing those roles. You know, this work now, right, is done usually on your own or with a very loose net of support. So that's that was sort of a striking difference. Camila, that was bringing back some thoughts or some memories for you.
Yeah, it's very different from what it was. It was very like more specifically connected to the stereotype of what women are and what about what they wanted to be, but how society puts them in this position where the only thing that matters is staying at home, caring for your husband and children. Well, now it's all like, you can do this. There's a lot of criminal justice majors,
The nursing major.
nursing, which is like it was also like one of the biggest majors back then also, because a lot of nurses like during the war was needed. But also like there's a lot of different majors that brings everybody together. It's not just women wanting to, not like people wanting women to just stay at home. It's just like you can do all these different things. You just need the resources and the support.
Yeah, yeah. And college educated women, right, sometimes sort of being in a bind in that you've attained this difficult and rare credential, but then how are you going to use it, right, in the world, and how will you be respected in the same way? You were talking about the MR. It's not an MRS, right?
Is that still saying the MRS degree?
Not really.
The
Was when I was a
nursing,
student, I didn't know.
yeah, the first nursing class was 78. For
First
baccalaureate,
baccalaureate, yes.
yeah. I mean, you had Allentown Hospital was putting out, nurses with a certificate, what they call it, not a certificate, diploma. A diploma school.
So
And
in
then they
about 50 years, it's become one of the largest programs.
Right. But a lot of the diploma people would come to us and we offered cooperative nursing, which meant they just took the BS courses needed to give them their degree, but it wasn't a BSN. It was a Bachelor's of Science in Cooperative Nursing, whatever that meant, but.
We could go back to the course catalogs and figure it out, right, at the time. This is, it's, institutions of education that focus on women in particular are rare, right, in the United States. And thinking back to our foundation in 1867, we're particularly
Think about the
rare.
Civil War, it just ended. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Did you come across anything about how this campus was just an empty cow field, pasture?
I have, yeah.
And how the trees came about? That the president went around and would ask to be paid in a tree.
Yeah, the origins of the Arboretum. We actually found some records. I know Curtis, was president for a long time, so we found some records, right, of his writing back and forth, and to different organizations. We also found letters for. It looked like local families. I'm not quite sure how these people were invited in particular, but families who had been invited to come here to when it was Hillside House and dine with the students, and these were right. Remember those?
Yeah. Casey Student has some of those, right?
They say a little bit more about those letters then.
It seems like they were writing, to like thank them and be like.
This was in the 1940s.
Yeah. Thank you for entertaining us. It was very formal, which is kind of funny to think about. And some of them were like on actual greeting cards. So. Yeah.
They always reference the food and the conversation, and
Yeah.
a couple of them mentioned the practice babies. us being here.
As the students did a wonderful job caring for them, there was a lot of praise. There were a few letters that mentioned also how being invited, I know one of the letter writers said how grateful she was that she had been invited because it allowed her to meet other students on campus before she was coming to actually
there was one from a fellow student as well.
And
it wasn't just like, you know, adults, like couples that
That's
would come to be
true, yeah.
entertained. There was at least one from a fellow student. Right?
And they provided this like, very personal insight into the dynamics of the curriculum here in the house. Yeah. Well, letter writing, that's an interesting phenomenon, right? I mean, even, you know, and I remember writing back and forth with my college roommate, getting to know each other before we moved in together, and then hated each other from the minute we met in person, but...
We hope, as someone who used to put the people together, I probably put your mom together in the dorm with her roommate.
That would have been one of your roles after you graduated. So what were some things that went into your decision making and roommates? Or
Well, they filled out these little cards, you know, they smoked.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. If they wanted 24-hour visitation, which the only place that had 24-hour visitation, I was not allowed to live there, was in Steinwright.
Okay.
Everybody else had visitation, you could have males, meaning even your I wouldn't say grown-ups. I'm a
Your male
retired
relatives?
No, I'm a real retired teacher, so I don't say parents anymore, I say your grown-ups. But your dad, your uncles, your brothers couldn't go up unless it was on the weekends.
Okay.
24-hour visitation on the weekends, and then there was one floor in Butts that was never 24-hour visitation. That was the bottom floor.
Okay, so there were different levels of supervision.
Krampus just pointed out to me. Sophia found it.
Yeah.
We've agreement here for the fines for the violation of student government procedures. That for a male guest in a residence hall after visitation hours, excluding Steinbright, on limited visitation corridors, if they were there between 11:01 and 11:05 p.m., it was $5. 11:06 to 11:10, it was $10. 11:11 to 11:15 was $15, and 11:16 or after, it would cost you $25 for maximum.
And
like
Jason.
And we also had.
Yes, so if they're signed in,
A
but not
signed in
accompanied.
unescorted male guest would cost you $5.
Bring that back,
An
honestly.
They had to yell, male on the hall, so they could,
Okay.
in the hall.
Okay, we're supposed to announce where the hall bathrooms.
Yes.
I'm in one of the seats, so I don't know if people actually do that, but I guess no. And then we see far too many unaccompanied male guests.
Well, we always had
Right,
someone
nice.
sitting, that was a job, that was part of my job too, student workers. There were receptionists sitting at the desk until midnight, so Steinbright had security sit there after midnight, but 24 hours a day, someone was sitting there, you had to sign your guests in, just
We're supposed to do that online.
But
Does
it doesn't
anybody?
happen.
Oh, but you know what's in there too, is, and this is no longer on campus, there's a judicial board, so Rhonda.
It did reference that, yeah.
You saw Rhonda's picture was in there. I don't know when that stopped on campus, but it was. I don't think so.
Is that who would adjudicate the fines?
Exactly, so
Yes.
Monday
Oh.
night was student
Other
government, meetings, J board met and would hear about, you know, anybody who was.
Oh, so your fellow students
Fellow
would
students.
punish or would institute the
They still
fines?
have that.
Okay.
Do they still have J board?
Sort of. So not for that kind of, not for like a fine,
Yeah.
but I know they have like
Finers.
Well, yeah, but we also have the board, the student board, for like academic misconduct hearings and things. Do like a peer jury. I don't know exactly how it works.
Academics got into that much. No, it was mostly.
We don't have one for like res life or anything. But
Was
That's what
that
it was.
board, did it take its work really seriously? Were there
I
times?
think they did.
Yeah,
No, I think they did. Yeah, they
people, did it ever interfere with social relationships, as you remember? Or was it like,
I think you were supposed to follow the rules and people
Okay.
realized
They
that
knew
if
they
they
were-
screwed up.
it was their fault?
Yeah.
Okay, they took
Yeah.
responsibility. All
I
right.
don't know whether it'd be the same today because
That's a question. I wonder, current students, could you imagine, being the justice organization that punished students for violating certain rules?
Or being on the receiving end of a $25
I feel
fine.
like everybody would hate me if I was.
You wouldn't want to be in that position.
No.
There'd be a lot of angry discussion in
Yeah.
the Discord.
Well, I go back to when we had house mothers.
Yes. Tell us a little bit about that experience for
It was
you.
horrible. Because we were only allowed to be out until 1 a.m. on Friday and Saturday nights, or you were allowed 3 o'clocks, 3 a.m.s.
Throughout the year or the semester?
Throughout the semester. And the house mother that we had over in Curtis, she would be there and she would smell your date's breaths when they arrived to pick you up. And if she thought they were drunk, goodbye. They were
Where did
gone.
she live?
She lived in the, what were
Apartment
the RAs?
upstairs?
Yeah, the apartment. Mrs. Flick.
Mm.
And she would be there on the door with the key at 1 a.m. And if you weren't in, and there was many a time why none of us got killed with that stupid rule, because we'd be flying back from Lafayette or Lehigh at 70 miles an hour, get dropped off here and run like crazy to get to Curtis or Butts or whatever. And she got mad one parents' weekend and decided that somebody had parked in her parking place, so she quit. And that was the start of RAs. As an assistant, that's how went into her dorm, and then the other woman, there were 2 other women left, one retired, so that opened up Butts and Curtis, and the last one was down in Steinbright, and when she retired, then all 3, and then the dean of students, or assistant dean.
My
lived in Moore.
apartment was in Moore.
Right.
And then each of the other buildings had 2 RAs. It was 2 RAs and I think I was telling you floor counselors. So there were floor counselors on floors that had the majority of freshmen. And that was nice too. I said, when I was putting people together in their rooms, we really truly, well, let me back up. In the springtime, people could pick their rooms for the following year, and it was not online. I made big poster boards and with all the rooms. Make sure no one crossed off with a Sharpie, a pen, or a room that they wanted but didn't really get to choose yet, ahead of time. But then I could go through and put the freshmen, and I was a big statistics person. In January, I'd always get all their grades, and the freshmen that did the best their first semester academically seemed to live with upperclassmen because they knew how to balance nutsing around and being a serious student. And the floors that were pure freshmen,
The GPA was lower.
the GPA actually.
I wonder where we're going back to that. It's going from more as now all freshmen, but next year they're doing freshman wings on and like having them mixed in. So I'm curious to see if we have the same result.
Do the statistics, let me know.
Okay.
Now, shall we go check out some of the artifacts that Morgan brought? And we can also show the room, the building as well.
I want to say thank you for having us here to be able to hear all the exciting stuff you're doing with this program. I have to leave in about 5 minutes.
Okay.
I volunteer at the Kindness Project, and we have an emergency foster child coming through that needs to be outfitted. So
thank you so much for spending this time with us.
He's 8, so it's a boy. It's a boy. Yeah.
We'll invite you back anytime. The archives are a great place if you haven't visited. Casey has a whole display case set up as well in the library with additional items. But yeah, let's take a look at the stuff, and